What is up, YouTube? Prof Sales coming back at you, man. It's been a while on a Friday night, and want to talk to you guys tonight about eBay and why do people give up on it. Um, so we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait a minute. Let a few people filter in. But it's been a little while since I've been on with you guys, probably a couple weeks or so. So good to see everybody as people are starting to filter in. And hope you guys are doing well out there in YouTube land, eBay land, Amazon land, Poshmark land, whatever land you find yourself in. I hope you're doing well. So, as you notice, Kaaren is not here. She is out visiting colleges with Ben, believe it or not. So they're on the road, and they are. Don't you guys love find friends? You can track your family members and so on. It's a little big brotherish and stalkish, I guess, but you can kind of see where they're at and so on. But they're heading up the road to visit some colleges or visit a college this weekend and see if it's somewhere that Ben might like to go. So a couple people shouting out here in the chat. Adam, Aaron, what's up, Adam? Exploits. I love that. Connie, my flipping life. Mark Rhodes, the seam, another Mark McIntosh. What is going on, everybody? It's Friday night, and I like doing these impromptu shows now. Thought he was crushed under a pile of jeans. That's pretty funny. Not entirely impossible either. I felt like that a time or two in my reselling days. Sorry, I'm just seeing how their progress is, but yeah. So, how's everybody doing? I mean, I haven't talked to a lot of you guys here in this community much lately, I know. And, oh, sorry, I was checking the phone. And as some of you guys know, Kaaren and I have been making a transition away from eBay as of late and transitioning over to the Evil Empire. I feel like we need some Star Wars music with that, like the Empire or something, right? But to Amazon. And, I have been a seller on eBay for, well, I guess the first few sales I made were probably about 10 years ago. And, I sold a few things off and on, but really started going after it a little bit more back, 2-3 years ago. And, I would say eBay has been good to me overall. It's been good to us. So I don't want this to be like a bashing eBay show, but I'm kind of curious what people's thoughts are, in the chat, and then if you're watching this afterwards. And this is not to say that eBay is worse than this platform or better than that platform. It's not that at all. This is really a show about just kind of trying to identify why do people give up on it. And I think it's an interesting conversation because I've told you guys here that I had sort of an epiphany several months ago, probably nearly 6 months ago now. And that epiphany went something like this, that I knew personally, nor even sort of tangentially, hardly anyone who was a millionaire on eBay, nor even 100,000-aire. There are a few people who I do know that approach that kind of volume, certainly not net, but that sort of volume, doing it with pre-owned clothing like we were doing, shoes and jeans and things like that. I came to the conclusion that it was going to be nearly impossible, if not impossible, to do it without scaling up an operation that we could not take on the road, would tie us down to a physical location, would be heavy in managerial oversight in a lot of ways. And, we made a decision that we couldn't keep doing that model. But I know there's a lot of you guys out there who watch this channel, and this channel started with me talking about our exploit selling on eBay. I know there's a lot of you out there who are eBay sellers, have been eBay sellers, want to be eBay sellers, just starting out on eBay, wherever you're at. But I don't have any numbers for what I'm about to say, but I'm just going to say it anyway. It seems to me that a lot of people give up on eBay. And let me define give up. Give up means one of two things in my mind. It means one, you start selling on a platform and then you quit. I think we would all agree that's giving up, right? You give up for whatever the reasons. And then, or two, you had this objective that I'm going to sell on eBay and do this, and then you never did that because of again, all these different reasons. It seems like a lot of people seem to talk about giving up on eBay, especially as of in the last year or two. And it's just anecdotal. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree in the chat. Maybe you do, or maybe you don't. I don't know what keeps some of you going on eBay, what keeps you making it your primary means of reselling. But I'm curious why it seems like so many people give up on it. Because there was a time when eBay was the only game in the only game in town for the most part. And if you wanted to sell online, that's how you did it. The little guy, quote unquote, or little woman could get online and sell, online with the big boys. And, you had all these advantages. You could reach a lot of people. It wasn't too cumbersome to do things. You didn't have to have a physical storefront. But now, either it's because of competition internally within eBay, or maybe competition from Poshmark and Amazon, all these other platforms. It seems like eBay is harder. And when I say harder, I mean harder to get results, harder to keep going on, harder to find success than it used to be. I know that I did that and it's partly because my definition of success changed, I guess, over the last year or so. My definition of success led me towards a business model that eBay just doesn't support. But I think a lot of you out there watching right now and then will watch this video later that are selling on eBay would probably say the same thing. You think that you have to go out, find a bunch of items, bring them home, clean them all up, fix them all up, tidy them all up, get a backdrop, get a camera, get some lights, take some photographs, adjust your photographs, make them look perfect, write a good description, put it up on eBay, research the prices, and then, hopefully sell the item. And then you got to figure out how to pack it and ship it and get it to the person and do all those things and not lose money and hopefully make a reasonable profit. But I think a lot of people, between all those steps, they get bogged down. They realize that scaling such a business to even, a decent level, how you ever define, is really difficult. Really difficult. There are people who've been doing this for years and years and years and have a lot of knowledge about certain niches and fields and do have some advantages with contacts they have and people they know in their community and their ability to find these items. But so many of you out there probably started by going to thrift stores or yard sales or estate sales or retail stores or whatever. And you're literally out there finding one item at a time, one item at a time, one item at a time. Pick this up. Is it good? Nope. Put it back down. Pick this up. Is it good? Nope. Put it back down. Look at that item. Is it good? Nope. Put it back down. Oh, it is good. Put it in the cart. Put it in the basket. And then, all those steps I just mentioned. But I don't know, guys, like the process of it, when I step back now and I look at it, and some people are talking about, pre-owned clothing in the chat, I wonder why I kind of am kicking myself because I don't know why I ever thought that scaling a business like that, like at one point I talked about, hey, I want to scale up jeans to 5,000 listings. And I realized at some point, well, just finding the jeans is going to be too difficult. And it would have been difficult. I probably could have figured it out eventually, but it would have been very difficult, no doubt. And if I would have done it, it would have required a model where I would have needed, help on a very regular basis. I would have had to get a consistent supply, really watch my burn rate of my capital that I was spending on new inventory versus what was selling. And I decided that the trouble I would have to go through to build up a 5,000 item store, which would have made, decent profit every month for sure, but not, life-changing, not rich profit, man, it was a lot of work. Like, it was going to be a lot of work, and not just a lot of work for me, but a lot of work for multiple people. It was going to be a lot of steps on how to figure it all out. And that was just taking one item, one niche that I knew really, really well at that point, and knew even better as I went along. And I couldn't figure out how to do it in a way that would support, kind of what our objectives were. And I wonder if a lot of you are out there in the same boat. Like, maybe you're selling shoes, maybe you're selling jeans, maybe you're selling shirts, maybe you're selling baseball caps, whatever it is you're selling. I don't know, dresses, sport coats, and blazers, somebody said in the chat. But do you find yourself in this inevitable rat race that just looks like, go out, find item, buy item, quality control it, photo it, list it, pack it, ship it, rinse and repeat over and over and over, to the point where you can't ever really figure out a way to get yourself out of it. So all you've really done is bought yourself a job. You bought yourself a job that's wrapped around a business that you're running. But if you stop doing the job, it ends. It goes away. You quit. Money quits coming in eventually. If not today or tomorrow, next week or next month or sometime. And I don't know how. I don't know how that's sustainable. Like, there's so much to it, and we haven't even talked about storing items and figuring all those things out too. I hate to say it, but it's like, in a lot of ways, it strikes me that eBay is only going to be a hobby for the majority of niches and sellers out there, just because of the way it's structured. It's just so hard to build it into anything much larger than that for most situations. Not all, but most. Let me look at a couple of the comments in here. Adam says you need to find other niches. Prices are going up, and most brands sell for under $20. Yeah, there does seem to be a decent flood of low-priced items, and that makes it even harder, because you got to find even more items and photo and list and so on. You get this, and again, it just comes in. Time is like the one variable you just can't get more of. The seam store, Wes says, I keep doing it because I make at least twice as much as most people get paid around here, and I don't want to move. Well, that's a good reason. I mean, that's that's a great reason. Mark says listing is a grind. Yeah. Full disclosure, I hated the listing part of eBay. I still don't like it. It's not intuitive. I don't know. It's like you're having to reinvent the wheel every time you make a listing a lot of times. Like, not your personal wheel, but the wheel for the item. Like, I would get so upset when I'm sitting there listing a pair of Levi 515 size 8 jeans, and there's 78 of them on eBay, but I got to make up a whole new one. And yeah, I can use a template, and some things can be the same, but I can't make a template for every single item and fit and color and wash of denim that I had. I mean, I would have had to make templates for 300 of them. It would have been ridiculous. So that part of it drove me nuts. Connie says, I wake up most mornings and think I should just stop, but I don't. I just keep going. Yeah. Well, Connie, that's a feeling I got at several points, and I kept going. I'd wake up and think, I should stop this. I kept going. And then at some point I decided I can do something different that will be more successful and fit more in line with my goals. And then I started making the move away from it. Like, I think if you just wake up and say, I'll stop, I think that's kind of that sets you up for failure, because then regret sets in. You're like, oh, well, I shouldn't have quit selling. That was dumb. I really liked the income. I liked what I did. It helped out. It supported us, whatever. Now what am I going to do? I think if you move towards something instead of just ending one thing, I think it's better. But I feel your pain on that, because I did the same thing. Quad says, I make a good living selling on eBay one item at a time mostly. Yeah, Quad, and that's kind of like, you found like the pirate's treasure there. Like, you found, the golden goose. And a lot of people, I think, would like to do that. I try to do it with a niche, and I think other people do that as well. But one item obviously would be the simplest, because then if you could get enough sell-through and it made enough profit and you can get access to enough of them, your listing and photographing and all that part goes away. But that's not the case for most people. So, but that's awesome that you found that. Let's see here. To me, eBay is only good for sellers at 50,000 plus feedback. They can sell anything and get, I think you're saying TRS, maybe top rated. Get by TFS. I'm not sure. Wait, what does TFS mean? I'm not sure. Detailing news, that's an interesting comment, but I don't know that 50,000 feedback makes the difference it used to make. Maybe they're getting pushed up more in search. Maybe eBay is favoring their listings. I don't know. That's possible. So it makes them even easier for them to sell through. Like, the more good feedback you have, the more eBay likes you, which gives you more chances to sell. But I don't know that feedback really has the effect it used to have. I feel like, I don't know, this is a separate item, but does feedback even matter anymore on eBay? I mean, it might matter for your search ranking, but I don't know if feel free to chime in the chat. I don't know that I don't know that feedback matters anymore. Like, so many people automate it on the buying and selling side of the equation. I just think that in a lot of cases, it's not really that useful anymore. Sellers can't leave negative feedback anymore, right, for buyers. So, it's become just sort of a relic. But I don't know. You guys might have a different opinion on that. Mark says, just saw you on. Welcome, Mark. Blackhawk Surplus says, most sellers don't scale because they don't know how to go deep on good items. It's almost impossible just to grow on one-off products. I agree. You're all over it, Blackhawk, and you're exactly right. And one of the things I saw on our last big shopping trip with our Amazon clients was that when you found a good item that you knew had good sell-through. Now, here's the key, guys. I'm going to say something that I think is a huge difference between eBay and Amazon. When you find an item on Amazon that has a good sales rank, has a good sales history, and you can get it at the right price to meet your profit goals, you wipe the floor with it, the case, the table. You buy every single one of those items you can because you have a reasonable expectation of selling so many of them that even any that get damaged or don't sell, the profit will more than make up for it. And I saw that on our trip to the Midwest. Like, when we found a good SKU that was the right price, it didn't matter if they had 1 or 50 of them. We bought them all. We bought them all because the idea is you can just repeat it. Like, you've simplified the process. Now you got one item, you're going to list it 50 times, or quantity of 50, or even more in their cases. But that's what you do. You can't do that on eBay. You can't do that. Like, eBay does not give you the sales data to tell you, should I buy one of this item? I see this in the selling groups all the time. Someone's at a Goodwill or a Savers or whatever, and they say, this store has 27 of these, and I can get them for $3 a piece. Should I buy them all? Great question. And the answer is nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody can tell you, because the way the eBay sales data is so segmented and hard to figure out how often that item will sell. It's really, really a guess, a shot in the dark. It is light years behind Amazon in terms of figuring out if you should go deep on one SKU or not. And that is a huge disadvantage when you want to scale up a business. So then you take the scattershot approach, like I did, and a lot of the people in the chat probably did, and a lot of people sell. You buy a wide variety of things, maybe within one niche, but you kind of hedge your bets and say, well, I'm going to buy this one because this brand is good and this size is decent, but I'll buy one of that size over there too in the same brand, or I'll buy one in that color, that shoe, and one of that color because I'm not sure which color sells. Like, it is such a guessing game with eBay, and that probably drove me more nuts than anything else with eBay. I never could figure out exactly what the sell-through would be of a pre-owned clothing item. Virtually impossible to do. Anybody tells you they can do that with certainty is lying. You can't. The data is not there. It's incomplete. You're taking a shot in the dark because all you know is what's sold in the last, 90 days? But you don't know how many listings there were in the last 90 days. So you don't know what the data is going to be like down the road either. You don't know what's it going to be like for that item 6 months from now or a year from now. You can't go backwards in time very far, and you can't project out to the future. I know there's certain services out there that show certain items and their sales history on eBay. But when you're talking about commodity-based items that sell year-round on eBay, which is something you can build a business off of, you cannot get that data from eBay's metrics alone. You've just got to take your best educated guess. And your educated guess is not even that educated. Like, if you told me, when I was at the height of selling jeans, someone would say to me, hey, Prof, should I buy this pair of jeans or not? I couldn't tell you. And I was in that sales data. I was in there looking at solds and so on. And I'm like, 28 of them have sold over the past 90 days, but there's 350 of them listed. There's a chance it'll sell in the next 30, 60, 90 days, but what's the percentage chance? How much did it sell last year? Will styles kind of change and evolve and push that particular color fit to the side? Maybe. There's no way for me to know. That drove me crazy. Sorry, that was like a long rant, but that was a great point, Blackhawk. So thank you for bringing that up. I think your networking paid off. You met successful sellers, incorporated their skills, and came up with your own model. Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's important too. I mean, you can do that on eBay as well. But I would say that successful sellers on eBay are not as in tune with what sells and what will work on eBay as successful sellers are on Amazon. And again, it's just because of the way the platform is structured. The people who sell 6 figures a year in pre-owned clothing, or even 7 figures in a couple cases, there's some big, huge sellers out there. They have a lot of things that don't sell or they lose money on. And they can do that because they have such economies of scale. They can run a thinner margin. People like BHFO, for instance, who's a big, huge clothing seller. I don't know what their margin is, but it's not the margin you guys find when you go and find, a $4 item that sells for 20 from some thrift store or something. It's not that high a margin for their business because they're buying in bulk. They can get thinner margins because they have a lot of economies of scale and efficiencies because they have employees and a huge inventory system and setup. You can't do that. So like what works for them wouldn't work for you. It would put you out of business. So you have to find somebody who's kind of like a level or two ahead of you, whatever that even looks like, in your field, in your niches, and try to see what you can learn from them. And even there, I found that a lot of the eBay sellers that are out there like that, myself included, they can't tell you why they're successful. They can't. They can hint at it. Oh, you just got to list things every day. And then you go, well, I did. I just listed things for 100 days in a row and my sales suck. Well, you got to list the right things. What are the right things? Well, the stuff that'll sell well. Well, what's that? There's always like an answer with no real definitive information a lot of times. So it's really tough for people to give you information on eBay, even big successful sellers. Did you sell your store on eBay, Jason? I'm still working on it. I have somebody who wants to buy all my shoes, so we've just got to finalize the deal. But I don't want to say who it is or what the deal is until it happens. Oh, Mark, sorry to hear that, man, about your dad. I hope we'll sending prayers your way, and I hope that he makes a full recovery. That's always tough when you got a family member who's sick. Right on, Prof. Guess and wait. Yeah, I know, right? Can you use the Amazon barcode scan and still sell on eBay? I'm not sure what that question means, our new flipping lies. The Amazon barcode scan? What do you mean by that? Prof, I try not to overcomplicate my business. Yeah, well, that's just it. I didn't either. I simplified it down as much as I could by niching down to one main item, by becoming as much of an expert in it as I could, by figuring out what would work best in it and what didn't, getting shipping down and efficiencies of listing and photographing and so on. And I still just ran into these roadblocks. So there's my girl. You should be looking at the road. Well, maybe you're not driving. Maybe Ben's driving. Maybe you should be watching him look at the road. Yeah, I don't know how people like Casey do so well with used clothing, although he has many streams of incomes buying more new items. Yeah, I mean, Casey's diversified out into other things, and he does have different income streams. And he's subject to the same margins we all are. It's not like Casey's figured out something that no one else has figured out. He realizes what the margins are on pre-owned clothing and how the scale you have to do, and how much. And Casey probably lists and goes after it more than just about anybody I know, I would say. And it's still a struggle. It's still a struggle to put together a six-figure business. And I don't think he would. I think he'd be the first one to say, it's difficult. And he's been doing it for quite a while. And as you said, he does have other income streams, so he can pivot somewhat and let off his foot on the eBay gas here and push it down in some other area. So, but he goes after it very tooth and nail, and it's still quite the challenge. Mark says, I watch Auction Professor, and he recommends selling paper goods and collectibles. Yeah, I've I've seen that. Somebody else, Duncan, is here somewhere. Duncan would tell you that. I should be selling postcards and things like that, and he's probably right. Jason, tug your right ear. I don't even know what that means. Tugging my right ear. Let's see. Prof, can I get the Cliff Notes version of this video? Nope. It's just me on here rambling on, Brian. I got to be who I am. Prof, are you a millionaire yet? Man, maybe in pesos. Scan to see how much an item sells for, then sell on eBay. Well, you mean an Amazon item. That won't really work, though, our new Flipping Lives, because the prices are different on Amazon and eBay. It's a different customer, the different expectation. You have the prime customer who looks at it a little differently, and the merchant fulfilled customer. I don't think that would work. You can find some pretty big price discrepancies between Amazon and eBay on certain items. Plus, there is no pre-owned clothing on Amazon. They don't even allow it. So if you're a pre-owned clothing on eBay, a pre-owned clothing eBay seller, you are totally out of luck if you are looking to Amazon for your pricing information or anything like that, because maybe if you're looking for the sales data, maybe that's what you're suggesting, which I get to a degree. But again, if it's pre-owned clothing, you won't even find it on there. So I don't think that would really translate that well. Let's see. Reselling is great, but it's not a lottery ticket. Yeah, that's for sure. It's not. Yeah, I mean, I guess eBay, selling on eBay has slightly better odds than the lottery. I'm making you a millionaire, but not much. Because again, you go back to the scale of it, and I don't know. I mean, you guys probably know somebody, or maybe you have yourself. Why do people give up on it? What are the reasons they give up on it? I think some of the reasons I mentioned, maybe apply with the difficulty in scaling up an item. Finding sales data that will help figure out whether or not you should go deep in one particular SKU or set of SKUs. The listing process and so on is difficult. Needing help. I mean, how many of you out there are in a position to hire a contractor or employee, even a contractor? And I think in a lot of niches on eBay, you would have to have one. Doing this by yourself and scaling to say like even 6 figures a year and just gross sales, I'm not even talking about your net, is challenging. To do it in pre-owned clothing or something like that would be very difficult, because you just can't put in enough hours between the sourcing and photographing and listing and packing and shipping. Like, there just isn't enough hours. You just run into that real problem. And I think people figure that out when they go out and they list their first 50 items, and they have to search through 1,000 items to find those, or 500 items to find those. And then they list their next 50. Now they got 100 listings up, and they're thinking they're really doing well. And after a month, maybe they've only sold 10. And they look around and go, what just happened? Like, I put in all this time. I looked through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of items, went to different stores and sales and places. I took the time to take 6, 7 photos of each of these items, hundreds of photos. put them all up, did the listings, spent hours and hours on this, and made $200. That's a pretty common occurrence. And a lot of people give up right there. And you do have to kind of push through that to some degree if you want to be even successful to the next level. But to get to a level where you're making, $5,000 or $10,000 a month in sales, or even net profit, is just really difficult to do in most eBay models. And people just don't have the time to do it. And then you come into this equation, well, do I want to take the leap of faith and bring in a contractor or hire somebody, yada, yada. I think about my good buddy Luke, who's recently, he's outsourced a lot of his business, but Luke has a full-time job as well as his wife has a full-time job. So he is able to have two big revenue streams, well, really three revenue streams coming into his house between eBay and the two jobs. So he can reinvest all that money back in eBay itself. If you were trying to grow the business, and that is the way you'd want to do it, like you wouldn't want to take anything out of it if you could for like 6 months, a year, maybe longer. But most people don't want to do that. Like most people are doing it because they have some financial goal. They have some financial goal of, I want to pay for a vacation, or I need an extra $500 a month, or I'm putting this towards, it's paying bills, whatever it is. So most people can't do that. And I just think that, most people get into that rat race of just, they reach their capacity with eBay very, very quickly, and that's it. And they get to their capacity, but their results aren't matching their expectation, and they just quit. They stop, or they cut it way back. Sell old documents, Prof. I know. Duncan, you keep telling me. The truly successful eBay sellers aren't documenting themselves on YouTube. Why would they? Well, indeed. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, BHFO does $40 million a year, and they've documented many things on YouTube. So I don't know what your definition of successful eBay seller is, but they're a pretty successful eBay seller. There's been others too. Linda Stuff, who does consignment sales through eBay, she does like 10, 15, $20 million a year, 25 million. She's documented lots of things on YouTube as well. So I think I would argue with I would disagree with your statement there. And it's not like they're giving away the keys to the kingdom, even if they do. There's no real secrets here. It's just that, there's a lot of things you have to figure out and apply. It's not like someone's giving away the formula for Coca-Cola. It's just there's a lot of moving parts to an eBay business, and most people can't juggle all those things and get it to work in the way they want it to work. Let's see what else here. Are you still doing the consignment sales on eBay? Yes, Adam, we are. So I take it you're in a better position now since leaving eBay. Well, I haven't really left eBay completely. I mean, I still have about 700 listings up on the platform. I definitely will have consignment items still listed. There will be some books that we list as well. It has allowed us to pivot to, Amazon and prepping and shipping as well. So I think those things have a better long-term outlook for sure. But it's going to be a process with those too. But I knew within the first month what it kind of would take, and my expectations have what has happened since that first month on Amazon has led me to believe that my initial projections and what I thought would happen have been pretty accurate. And then I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm not doing anything that anybody else can't do. But I thought if I do this, I should get that in results. And I have. And that's really cool to see. I never felt like that on eBay ever. I never felt like, I would hit higher listing totals and get worse results than I did the month before. I'm not saying that's impossible to happen on Amazon, but it's a lot harder. It's the market would have to change on you quite a bit for that to happen. I'm going to slide this to the side here a little bit. Sorry, guys. A lot of sellers don't want to put in the work. Yeah, people complain about slow sales. That's part of it, Black Hawk, but a lot of people just don't know what work they need to put in either. They put it in and they just don't get results. you shouldn't give up too early. That's for sure. If you give up too early, you're guaranteed to fail. But comes a point when maybe you say, this isn't giving me what I thought it would give me. I'm not getting what I thought I would get. And I'm kind of at my capacity for what I can do. And then at that point, what other option do you have but to quit and do something else? Losing signal. Got to go. Good sales to you. Thanks, Kaaren. Prof Millionaire and the Pirate Crew. Yeah, not by a long shot. A good book to read is So You Don't Fall Into Making a Job as an E-Myth. Yeah, you're right, Mark. That is a good job. I read the E-Myth Revisited. I haven't read the original one, but that is a good book because it talks about figuring out ways basically to outsource to get rid of you in your business, because basically it's very hard to build a super successful, and again, this goes back to, I don't know what you guys' definition of success is, but to me, a successful business is one that is profitable, that can provide all your needs and most of, if not all your wants, and that you can walk away from it for a period of time and it doesn't crumble to the ground because you're not there. Running a pre-owned clothing business on eBay by yourself and building that model is almost impossible. Building that model even to where you don't walk away from it and making it successful is really hard. Not impossible, but really difficult to meet those criteria for most people. If you had a business where you could say, you could go travel and still run the business, that's ideal. And, maybe 15, 20 years ago, that wasn't very easy to do, but the internet's changed everything. It is easier to do now. And I think it's reasonable to expect you have a business model where you can do that. I love the fact with Amazon that when I leave and go on a trip somewhere or go out of town, like we went book sourcing earlier this week, I don't have to put my store on vacation. It just keeps selling things. I don't have to increase my handling time. I don't have to ask somebody to come in and do my shipments for me while I'm gone. I don't have to do any of that. That's a huge advantage to me. Like that probably doesn't seem like a big thing to a lot of people, but to me, that's a huge advantage because that enables you to have the freedom to go live your life and not be chained to a business every second, just waiting for something to sell and getting ready to print a shipping label. That part of eBay drove me crazy. Like, and now that we have stuff in the warehouse, not here at the house, it's even more difficult because anytime something sells, it's a 20-minute drive to go deal with it and a 20-minute drive back. That 40 minutes, guess what? I'm not making any extra money on it. So I got to find some reason to go there to do other things. And there may be days where I had literally nothing else to do there, and I still have to go there and take care of a sale. Like that's a big pain in the butt if you have it somewhere else. And if you have it in your house, you don't have that distraction, but not everybody can put their eBay business in their house for various reasons. So I just think that, it depends on what your definition of success is. Don't go back into retail. There's no chance of that, Mark, or Adam, excuse me. There's no chance of that. There's no chance of me going back into retail. That ship has sailed. It's gone over the horizon. It's gone out of you and then hit an iceberg and sunk to the bottom of the ocean, never to be resurrected again. And there it lies rusting like the Titanic. I will never be going back into retail. It's on Backward Seller says, I've sold used and new clothes for about 2 years. First started with $50 and did 55K. That's great. This year I'm looking at 80K and have 40K in inventory. I do it alone. That's awesome. I mean, that's, 40K in inventory is a significant chunk of inventory, but you said you have new. So that makes sense that there would be a higher, average cost. I don't know how many units that is, but, and 80K is nothing to sneeze at. But I don't know if that's your profit or your gross. But if it's your gross, then, obviously your expenses have to come out of that. And you're carrying 40K in inventory to do it. So you've got your $40,000 tied up. Now, of course, you're going to move it. And I think with those results, Backwards Reseller, you are kind of near the top end of sellers. Most people who are doing this alone and have, clothing as their primary niche, but there's other niches that are just the same. But I think you're kind of near the top. You figured out 99% of the game, and still, it's difficult to even, break that 100K mark, and maybe you will. But I just think it's such a challenge. Are you going to move into private label? I don't know anything about it. Like, I don't have any plans to do it anytime soon. Anything's possible, but I don't know anything about it other than just what I've heard from a few people here and there. Are you only selling books on Amazon? Yeah, we just recently sent in some toys. Just a few, not a lot. So we definitely will have a few of those here and there. Strangely enough, I had a couple of them go stranded inventory, but I applied to get approved to sell those 2 items and was approved instantly. So no big deal. But yeah, we'll definitely be selling some toys on there as well. We sent in some games that we had laying around. We sent about $300 worth of profitable items in, I believe, last week. So we'll see if those sell. But I'll share book results here coming up in 3 days. Let's just say this month has been crazy good, like way better than I thought it would be. I don't know what that means, but it has been. So I'm very happy about that. And next month I look to do even more. So it's definitely, the pace of growth is accelerating, and I'm pretty excited about that. But I'll share more with that when I do my book recap for the month. It's a couple clicks to change handling time for eBay listings. So not sure about that one. Yeah, I just don't think it really makes much sense. I don't think most buyers don't expect to buy something and have to wait a week to get it, for you to even ship it. I don't think that's a reasonable expectation in today's retail or e-commerce climate. I just don't. I don't think most people are going to look at that favorably. It probably ticks them off, even if it's an item they don't really need right away. Certainly not at Christmas time would they think that. They expect you to ship it pretty quickly, especially if you're somebody who's doing, 1 day handling, and so on. And then all of a sudden you turn around and you're having to do 5 or 6 day because you're on vacation. And actually what some people do is they'll go on vacation for a week and they'll put like 7 day handling. And then on the 6th day, they'll change all to 6 and then 5 and so on. But I had different shipping policies set up with different handling times at one point. So even going through and making all those the same would have been kind of a pain. I could have done it, but usually I would just put the store on vacation and say, I'm away. And I won't be back, and don't even take orders because whatever. I mean, I guess I could have, but how's the book sourcing? Are you on target getting 100 books a week without depleting your resource? Yeah, we just bought earlier this week, Mark. We bought just over 300 books down in Atlanta. We went to our first big book sale. It was like a 75,000 book sale, and it was huge. It was a lot of fun. It was crazy. You guys, for those of you who've been to the bins and watched people when they bring out like new shoes or so on, and people go nuts, and they all stand and wait in line, and as the shoes get put out and they tell them go, like they rush the shoes. That's how this was, but with a lot more people. It was probably, I would estimate 200 to 300 people there that first night. Almost all of them, I would say, were booksellers. They all had carts and baskets and scanners and their phones. I mean, this was like, nobody was wondering why anybody was scanning anything. Let's put it that way. And as soon as they lifted off all the covers and gave the go-ahead, everybody just rushed to the section they wanted and just started going through books. Kaaren and I did really well. We pulled over 200 books from that sale alone. We were pretty happy with it. Our average cost paid was about $1.80, which was pretty good because they did have some more expensive books there, like $3 and $4 and $5. We didn't really buy too many of those, obviously. But it was a great learning experience. We'll definitely make a good profit on it. No complaints. I'm not really tracking the results of that because we're going to go to more book sales. I think you could even make a book selling business out of just doing book sales if you wanted to, probably. And 100 books a week. We've actually been over that number. I'll share more of this when we go through the the book results for the end of the month after this month ends. But so far since the middle of May, we pulled 2,003 books. So total, probably a few of those got defected, maybe 30, maybe 40, but not too many. But some had to be sold. Will have to be sold on eBay for various reasons. They're restricted. We just didn't catch it. But 2,000 books since the middle of May. We really, and Kaaren didn't start helping me probably till June. So we really didn't, and we didn't do any book sourcing for 3 weeks. Hardly any book sourcing. We sourced one day during the middle of August when we were gone. So we didn't really do any for 3 weeks there. So really, it's been since the middle of May minus 3 weeks. So it's probably that's probably well over 100 books per week. So we'll see what happens. Our inventory now is approaching, as soon as this next shipment gets in, it should be up around close to 1,500. So we've definitely ramped it up fairly quickly. Probably will let off on that some this coming month because we've got to prep and ship thousands of units that are still in our warehouse. And I don't know how much time we're going to have to do books. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited about the results we've had this month. I hope next month is just as good. We'll see. But it's always tricky when you start, having great growth, because then sustaining it is really hard because, each number gets tougher and tougher to get to. But we're pretty happy. I feel comfortably we could get 800-900 books a month from, all of our sources around without killing it too much. But beyond that, it would start getting tougher to get that many more books. So if we get up to a point where we're selling more than 900 books a month, which I'll be pretty happy about that. But when we get up to that point, we'll have to reassess our sources and so on. So definitely doing more than 100 per week, though, I believe. Try changing handling time daily on a cruise ship. That's a great point, Wes. Yeah, that might not work. Probably best just to leave it there and be done with it. Are you using a scanning tool? If so, which one? Yes, we're using Scout IQ, which I highly recommend if you want to get into book sourcing in not even a big way, but a decent sized way. I think it's a really good app. I haven't used FBA Scan, but from people who have and told me they prefer Scout IQ. There's a link to it. Should be a link to it in the description of this video. If not, you can find it on any of my book selling videos. But and it's a great app. It costs you about $40 a month, but I'm telling you, the time it saves you is well worth that. Just using the seller app is really tricky and time consuming. You're not going to have good sales data there. You're not going to be able to set triggers up to decide if it's worth it or not. You could do it, but starting out that way is much, and it's slower too. Like if you have a scanner of any kind, it's slower to do it with the seller app. So I highly recommend it, but there's other selling apps out there as well, and I'm sure some of them are decent. I haven't tried them, but I'm happy with Scout IQ. You're so negative, it's depressing. I don't know about that, ND. I think I was pretty positive about my answers to you, but maybe we just see it differently. When would you advise to list items purchased to sell during Q4? Now. I would do it now. I wouldn't wait. Yeah, somebody else already said now. Last month, yeah, don't wait. There's no waiting. Like things sell year round, but the only exception would be to that is if you had something. If you still need to buy it and you had to buy it in quantity and you weren't sure of sell through, but you need to turn the money quickly, then you might want to wait a little bit before you bought it and got it up. But if you've already got it, list it now. Mark, I love that. Mark said a library asked me, "You're not a book dealer, are you?" I told her that I help people find books. She said, "Oh, okay then." Isn't that funny coming from someone selling you a book? You're not a book dealer, are you? Doesn't matter. They're a library. You're just helping them out by buying their books. Adam, are you still planning on putting together an occasional reseller meetup? We are. The one in September, and I think initially we talked about doing one in October, but I don't even know if that's still in the books or not. You'll have to talk to my better half. She's way better at planning that stuff and keeping track of it, but I'm not really sure. Pete, what's up, buddy? Haven't seen you in a while. Jason is real, not negative. Business is hard. Yeah, you're exactly right. It is hard. Anybody who tells you this is easy, I don't know, guys. I mean, are that many people out there telling you it's easy? Maybe they are. I never tend to listen to those people or seek them out. I tend to look for the people who want to tell me what all the obstacles are and how they overcame them, because then it gives me an idea about how I might approach those obstacles. Pete's had a lot of obstacles in his business. He's got a different model than probably anybody in this chat, and he has to overcome them daily. And he's got a lot of responsibility. So sorry, Pete. We could not make it to your store while we were out there. We actually were within about 10 miles of you at one point, but there was just no way to make it to see you while we were there in Illinois last month. But Pete's right. I mean, business is hard, and if you think it isn't, then you're probably going in this with rose-colored glasses. You should expect it to be difficult, and anytime it's easier, put a smile on your face and say, man, that was great that was easier than I thought it was going to be, and just move on. Be ready for the next thing, which might not be as easy. It's not going to be easy. Nothing worthwhile for the most part usually is. So expect it to be difficult. If it's easier, great. But go into it with your eyes open, because eBay is tough, guys, and making it work is tough. You putting in the necessary time and effort is tough. Finding what will work on the platform is difficult. It's a long, time-consuming process to gain efficiency in a lot of these things and to become an expert in them. And scaling it up is very difficult because of the way the platform is set up. It's a challenge for most people. If you don't have a lot of capital to start with, you're in for a long, slow build-up for the most part. It's going to take you years, probably years. You're not gonna ramp up to $100,000 a year business in 1 or 2 months for the most part. It's just not possible. And I think a lot of people hit up against that. They want to sell $500 or $1,000 in their first month or whatever it is, whatever the number is, and then they don't, and they're like, well, what happened? eBay sucks, or I don't know what I'm doing, or they come up with all these reasons, and some may be valid, some aren't. But ultimately, it causes people to give up, and I think it's because a lot of cases they go into it with people go into it with unreasonable expectations, and then when they're not met, they point the finger at themselves, or point the finger at eBay, or point the finger at other resellers, or point the finger at Amazon, or point the finger at this or that, and then they give up. And that's certainly your prerogative. I don't feel like I haven't given up on eBay, but I don't feel like I gave up on my part of it. What I did give up on it, I don't feel like I did that too quickly or without a lot of trial and error, without a lot of successes and failures. I just reached a realization that it no longer fit in with what we wanted to do. So there was no sense in trying to scale up a clothing or shoe business when we had no desire to run a clothing or shoe business because of what we wanted to do with our lives. So that's why we gave up on that part of it and moved in a different direction. We could have kept doing it. We could have scaled it even further. We could have gone down that road. But then one day, 6 months, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, Kaaren and I would be sitting around going, man, sure would be nice to go to Yellowstone for a week, but we can't because the business will fall apart. We got to have somebody here to run it. We got to have who's going to do this? How's that going to happen? And there was no easy way to figure out how to do all that and to have all that work for us while also having the business, support us at the same time without secondary and third incomes coming in. It's supporting everything. So, we thought, I guess in a way we gave up on it, but we went into something else. We didn't just quit and walk away. We immediately pivoted to what, we knew would work in a different way. And, books can be outsourced. Amazon can be outsourced. The prep and ship business could be outsourced. Running an eBay business can be somewhat outsourced, but it's much more difficult and just not something we care to do. So that was our reasoning. And I hope that you guys are out there. If you're thinking about giving up, I'm not going to try to tell you should or shouldn't because I can't make that decision for you. But I would encourage you to move towards something else. Giving up and quitting and doing nothing is almost never the right answer. That is rarely the right answer in life about anything. It's like, well, I quit this, and then you didn't go do something else. Like that to me is a big mistake, and I've made it before in my life, and I think it's a mistake for most people. It sends your brain the message that when it gets hard or you don't get what you're getting out of it, you just quit and just sit there in a corner and throw yourself a little pity party, or get mad or get sad or get depressed or whatever the emotions are. Move towards something else. Go in to do something else. I don't care if it's a hobby or an activity, or you go volunteer, whatever it is. Put that time and energy that you were putting into eBay into something else. Maybe it has to be income producing because you need the income. Great, do it. Get a part-time job, try something different, go sell real estate, whatever you want to do. But don't quit and just give up and do nothing. I think that's a mistake for most people. A couple more questions and we'll wrap it up here. Good stuff. You just pivoted. It's not giving up. Yep. That's exactly what I was getting at. I agree with you, Prof. When I buy a book, what I do with them is none of their business. Yeah, I know. It's just so funny. Sometimes I've told people when they ask me, what are you going to do with all these books? I'm like, I thought I might read them. And then you got to sell it, like have a straight face. And, it's kind of interesting, that whole, at what point do they get the right to ask you what you're going to do with it? Because if you're just buying one book, they wouldn't ask you. So I always think that's interesting. You need to evolve always. Yep, for sure. If you want to leave, figure out something else to do. Don't leave a job until you have one. I know, right, Connie? I mean, I think that's kind of the message of this video. If you want to quit on eBay, if you want to give up on it, great. Find something else to do with that time and energy. Be specific. Have a plan. Say, I'm taking down all my listings on Monday, and I'm starting this. You don't need to take time off from it. Like that's a mistake too. Like time off suddenly becomes a day, and it's a week, and it's a month, and it's 3 months. And then all of a sudden you're sitting there and you've quit eBay and you haven't done anything else, and you spent all that time on Facebook and Instagram, and now you've got nothing to show for it. Like go and do something different with that time and energy. It's very, very important. Idle hands, no good. So I highly, highly encourage you to do that. I'm a personal shopper, Wes says. Yeah, I've said that to people too. All right, guys. Well, listen, I think that's going to do it for tonight. So thanks for stopping by. It was a little impromptu. We were on for like an hour. Again, message of the night. If you want to give up on eBay, great. If you don't want to, that's great too. Just find something else to go do. Hope that is helpful if you're thinking about it. Check out Pete's channel too. I know he has a huge YouTube channel. Probably doesn't need any extra subscribers, but I'm sure he'll appreciate them. So he's got some great content over there on his channel, Craigslist Hunter. And check out the description down below for helpful links if you guys want to see the kind of equipment that we've been using and so on. It's down there in the description. And leave me a question or comment after we're done. And don't forget the like button. The like button is your friend. So, all right. So I will see you guys probably within 4 or 5 days with the book results from September. And until then, guys, it's Prof Sales saying good sales to you.